Unlocking ought to in English. Hey everyone! Welcome back to our series on mastering the grammar points for TOEFL and IELTS. Today, we're going to delve deep into a very interesting modal verb, ought to. By the end of this video, you'll not only understand how to use it but also when and why. Ought to is a modal verb, which means it helps give additional information about the main verb in a sentence. In many contexts, ought to is similar in meaning to should, and it's used to express advice, duty, expectation, or probability. For example, you ought to wear a coat. It's very cold outside. He ought to apologize for being late. 1. Advice or suggestion. As we discussed, it can be used to suggest or advise something. 2. You ought to drink more water. 3. They ought to visit the museum while they're in town. 4. Moral duty. It can be used to express a moral or ethical obligation. 5. We ought to help those in need. 6. She ought to tell the truth. 7. Probability. It's also used when something is probable or expected. 8. Look at those dark clouds. It ought to rain soon. 9. With his experience, he ought to get the job. Remember, ought to does not change its form according to the subject. It remains consistent. 1. Negative form. The negative form is ought not to, often contracted as oughtn't to. 2. You oughtn't to go out so late. 3. They ought not to waste food. 4. Questions. In questions, ought comes before the subject. 5. Ought we to leave early? 6. Ought she to join the meeting? However, note that in everyday speech and informal writing, should is often preferred over ought to, especially in negative forms and questions. That's a wrap on ought to. I hope this video clarified how to use this intriguing modal verb in your sentences. Remember, practice makes perfect, so try using ought to in your daily conversations or writings. Best of luck with your test preparation, and I'll see you in our next lesson.